Okay, so my wife Tanya has agreed to play through parts of this and give feedback. And she's looked at it once, but it's pretty much still sight reading. We do this a lot. Whenever I have something that I've written, I almost always ask her to play it, and this is the closest we get to arguments. But she gives good feedback. So let's have you play the intro section right there. I'm gonna actually show your hands.
Okay.
Go for it. So anything in there that you go, that's odd, or is that perfectly straightforward?
It's perfectly straightforward.
You like the shapes for the hands and things?
Yep.
Rolls are fine?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this first section that comes up, I've embedded the melody for ease of singing, and you just sort of have block chords in the left hand. The computer likes to pound the crap out of those. I want them to hear and see what that looks like when a real person plays that.
Okay.
Go for it. So in this first part right here, I try to keep the shapes very conservative in the left hand. When we start to step right in this area, right there, where it's what I can't help, are those shapes fine for you?
Yep, they're fine. It moves very naturally through.
What would be a problem there if I were writing it? Is if the stretches are too big or the arrival points have too many notes? Is there anything wrong, potentially, that we could do wrong if we were writing that?
Well, if the jumps were too big, I think it makes it harder to keep the melody smooth without having the boom check thing happening.
So it's a matter of degrees.
Right, but the stepping in the left hand, those initial beats, is very comfortable because you pivot off the...
Okay, great. We're going on to the second verse here. This is the arpeggio thing. So arpeggio just means to go up and down the notes of the chord for the most part. And that's what we do. The right hand has more than one note. That's just filling out the harmony. Is that pretty typical for what you see a lot of the times?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
I'll just let you play this and then you can comment on it if you like. I had a question when I was writing it, and I said, we just have to check and see. So here, on the E's on love and the D at the beginning of with, I thought if that doesn't lay into the hand right, I might have to drop the first one of those. Is it fine the way it is, or?
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Okay, all right. But that's the kind of thing that I'd normally check with you, and you tell me is a problem,
right.
if it is.
There's a weird jump that's... Not that. So it doesn't sound like you're playing the right notes. When you're sight reading it, but when you're actually playing it, it's fine. But in the sight reading, that was... Like my ear said, those are not the right notes, but it's fine once you play it.
How do you feel about second measure of the top of the page 2, where the right hand is now syncopated?
Well, I missed it the first time, I think. Hold on, I'm going to start at the beginning of that line. So So sight reading, I just skipped that, I think, when I
Sure.
played it.
Okay.
It doesn't, unless you have a specific purpose for that, it interrupts what's happening, I think, because it takes away from,
Okay.
but if you have a specific reason why you put it there.
I did.
Okay.
But we pointed out also in the original video that might be an issue. Okay, so preemptively, I just want to talk about this next thing right here because we've already talked about this once. This is where you have block chords in the right hand, and they already understand how this stabilizes the melody, and you're doing things here. There's a note right here that in sight reading originally, you played it as a D, but the D sharp should hold over.
Right.
Talk to me about what I should have done preemptively there.
Well, if you're sight reading, you know, I wasn't paying attention, but it wouldn't hurt to have the extra accidental as a reminder on that one, just because it's out of the original shape, whereas this one, these shapes are the same, this is different, and
Right.
so it wouldn't hurt to have an extra D sharp
So
in there.
for young composers and arrangers, it's good to put that there with the parentheses around it
Yeah,
in the original notation because then you save people time.
right.
Okay? All right. Let's try this one then, please.
Okay.
Okay. And so we've done a lot of this sort of thing together, and I know what fits into hand pretty well, but this is easy, I presume?
Oh yeah, except for, you know, it helps to have that
Sure.
extra.
But to play it, it fits nicely in the hand because I'm thinking about shapes, and I talk to them how I actually sit down at the keyboard and make sure that these all seem to fit,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But this could get stupid if it was not arranged correctly, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's not the style's an issue; it's the execution.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about the last verse. So I called this my rock and roll triplets thing. This seems to me to be like early rock and roll shuffle kind of stuff. Do you play much of this at all? Like, have you seen this kind of thing?
Yeah, except for usually it's written in triplets, which is
Okay.
much easier from
So-
my eyes, which we had this
Yeah,
discussion.
so that's what I wanted to talk about. So this would normally be written with quarter notes and half notes without dots,
And then
and then these would be triplets right there.
well, your brain likes the triplet slur. It pockets the beat for you in a different kind of way. It gives you 1, 2, which I just feel like it gives a better sense of where the beat is, but
So they're both played the same way, but I think the takeaway from this is that you want to think about who's playing your music and communicate best for them. Well, how do you play this then?
okay. Do you want the repeat?
Yeah, that's fine. So then it goes back. Yeah, so the other thing that I think you mentioned earlier is that you said that this, having the quarter and the half like that.
This comes out of nowhere.
Out of
It's
nowhere.
not part of the other patterns that you've got going in the bass clef.
So,
It's fine, but it's not an easy. In sight reading, it throws it a little bit.
yeah. Okay. If you had rolls at the beginning, but not in the end, does that seem weird to you?
No, because it's in the old Reader's Digest books. They do this a lot, where there's rolls at the beginning or rolls at the end, and it's not the same. It's not bookended.
And just in case people are wondering, I wholesale copied this to the end, and it sonically sort of attaches the beginning and endings as bookends there. Do you have any other comments that if you were sitting down to read somebody else's music like this, that you would want them to make sure they get right for you so that it's not a problem to play? Maybe not technical things, but how about the layout of the music or any do's or don'ts or anything? We talked about having a cautionary sharp like right there, but
It's useful if the repeat is really clear. Like, there needs, like if it was,
Mm.
I mean, that's a player error, you need to go through and look, but
What if there's like a giant rehearsal mark right there, so that there was just something other
maybe,
visual?
yeah,
to
maybe
see?
so.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the rest of it,
Right.
that,
And just for myself, after seeing you play it and hearing it done, there's a few things that I would change. Like I would probably change this. I think there's a few places where it feels a little thick and then a little thin, and so I would change things. But that's completely normal in my opinion. We've used, solid techniques, thought about mechanics, done a first run, and then I'd say like we're 80 to 90% of the way there. I haven't really bothered with marking in dynamics
Yeah,
and
that
things
you-
because you don't do that until after.
right.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.